Everyone says the same thing when you get into real estate. If you want the best deals, you need to focus on broker relationships. And that advice isn't wrong, but I believe it's incomplete. Because the relationships that actually changed everything for me were not brokers. They were further upstream from that. When I first started taking acquisitions seriously, I believed that preparation was the thing that would carry me. If I did the underwriting correctly, if I understood the market, if I showed up professional and responsive, if I treated brokers with respect and consistency, then over time, I'd naturally be taken seriously. And I would show up with a packet filled with my profile and hopes and dreams and give that to brokers on our first meeting. I wasn't trying to hack the system though. I wasn't trying to skip steps. I was doing what everyone said you were supposed to do. And for a while, it looked like it was working. Calls would get returned, coffee invitations would get accepted, tours would get scheduled, conversations would feel very promising. But then something would happen. Momentum would slow, follow-up would stretch out, deals would feel very close but not quite like they were real. I was always almost there. And that almost is a very uncomfortable place to sit, especially when you are doing everything that you think you're supposed to be doing. At the time, I didn't frame it as a credibility issue. I framed it as a timing issue, or the market's not right issue, or just the nature of the business. But looking back, I can see what I was missing and would have saved me a lot of time. Brokers are not incentivized by effort. They are incentivized by certainty. Certainty of execution, certainty of close, certainty that a deal won't drag out, retrade, or quietly die out 6 months later. Now, that doesn't make brokers good or bad, right, wrong. It just means that what they're actually responding to is risk. And early on, whether I liked it or not, I represented more risk than I did certainty. Same preparation, same seriousness, same intent, different risk profile. What I didn't understand yet was that broker relationships are downstream relationships. Upstream relationships matter more. The shift for me happened when I aligned myself with an experienced operator, someone who'd been in the business for a very long time, someone with a very solid track record, and someone whose name brokers already recognized. And before that alignment, I was approaching the process alone. After that alignment, I was approaching the process supported with a big dog behind me. And the difference in response was immediate. I remember having broker conversations where nothing about me had changed. Same market focus, same asset type, same underwriting discipline, but now, when I mentioned who I was aligned with behind me, the tone completely shifted. There was no longer subtle probing for credibility, no longer a sense of being evaluated. The seriousness was assumed. The risk profile changed overnight, and calls that used to take days and days to get returned were now same day. Questions moved from surface level to specific conversations. The conversations also went deeper faster. Not because I suddenly knew more, but because someone credible now stood behind me. That was the moment it clicked. This business is not just about what you know, it's about how much risk you represent to the people who are sitting across the table from you. And alignment with experienced operators dramatically reduces that perceived risk. That alignment does more than help with brokers. It changes everything upstream of the deal. Experienced operators compress your learning in ways you don't even realize at first. They've already made mistakes you don't even see coming yet. They know which assumptions tend to break. They can sanity check plans before you waste months and months chasing the wrong thing. They also know the realities of specific markets, not just what the data says, but what the data misses. What kind of tenant base actually lives there? How local politics or municipal priorities affect operations? Which improvements are encouraged, discouraged, or quietly blocked? Those nuances matter. They change how you underwrite, they change how you plan, and they change which deals are actually viable. Then there's the team side. Who is a strong property management company in this market? Which contractors actually show up consistently? Which vendors overpromise and underdeliver? Now, that information doesn't come from ChatGPT and Google. It comes from lived experience. And when you're running lean, that kind of insight is invaluable. There's another layer here that doesn't get talked about enough. Access. Experienced operators see deals that you will never see. Deals that are too small for them, deals that don't fit their portfolio anymore, deals they've already evaluated and passed on for very specific reasons. When you are aligned with them, you're not just getting access to opportunities, you're getting access to judgment. And judgment is the most valuable asset in this business. There's also a quieter benefit. Credibility compounds. When you approach a broker alone, you're asking them to take a leap of faith. When you approach a broker aligned with someone they already know, trust, respect, you are reducing risk. That changes how seriously you're taken. It changes how fast conversations move. It changes whether your offer gets real attention. In some cases, having one highly credible operator behind you is more powerful than trying to assemble credentials on your own. Yes, there are trade-offs. Yes, you may have to give up some economics, but what you gain is momentum. And momentum in this business is everything. Over time, I stopped thinking about relationships horizontally and started thinking about them vertically. If I were prioritizing relationships intentionally, I think about them in this order. First, alignment with at least one experienced operator. Second, a clear understanding of your target market and asset type. Third, a credible operational plan that makes sense in the real world. And fourth, realistic underwriting assumptions grounded in how properties actually perform. Fifth, a reputation for follow-through even when you don't win deals. Brokers, I've found, respond to preparation, not ambition. Okay? They respond to preparation, not ambition. One last thing I want to say is relationships do not happen by accident. You have to put yourself in rooms where experience already exists. Get in those rooms. That doesn't always mean the paid for mentorships, but it does mean being intentional about who you learn from and who you align yourself with. Trying to do everything alone from zero, like me, it is the slowest, and I can tell you the most expensive way to build. Broker relationships matter, but they're not the starting point. The strongest leverage comes from aligning with people who have already walked the path. If you are early in this journey and you're trying to build credibility the right way, follow along. I am getting very real and serious on documenting the things that actually made a difference for me.